Pretty often I see Sword and Shield recommended to people newer to the Monster Hunter franchise, but with changes made to the weapon in Wilds, I disagree. I feel like Greatsword might take that place now. We're going to talk about why the Greatsword might be the play if this is your first time with the series, review the weapon's mechanics, show you how it plays, and then go over some basic gear choices to cart less and apply more pain to monsters' faces, or limbs, or tails, or what do we even call these? Each of the 14 weapon types in Monster Hunter has a niche, and a playstyle which revolves around either anticipating to or responding to each monster's individual actions. With its comparably slower moveset and emphasis on fewer, stronger hits, the Greatsword lives pretty squarely in that first camp. Now, if you're brand new to the series, so very much of the game is opaque. It's either buried in submenus or relies on assumed or implied knowledge. And this is really part of why I feel like Greatsword is perfect for new players looking to set themselves up to be a powerhouse long-term and eventually get to the point where you can pick up any weapon and thrive. Here's the thing. Greatsword really forces you to learn each individual monster's moveset, as well as some concepts that most veterans don't think to talk about because they learned it forever ago. So if we hang out in the training area here, we can get a feel for the general combos for the weapon. Now, if you look on the bottom left, you'll see 3 combos. That one on the bottom, the stationary combo, you can pretty squarely ignore that. You'll pretty much never use it. The second from the bottom, the forward lunging attack combo, which looks like this, the wide slash into the tackle, into the leaping wide slash. That's good for taking care of smaller monsters. When I say smaller monsters, I mean the endemic life you might encounter out around the world. Think of the stegosaurus-looking things, the giant waspy bugs, or the scorpion shrimp that exist later on in the game. But generally, you're not going to use that against a main monster. What you are going to do is use what's called the true charge / combo, which is, if you look on the bottom left, the thing on the top. So if you were just to tap the buttons, let's look at what that looks like. We have an overhead, into a charge, into a strong charge /, into a charge, into a true charge /. Now each of those attacks can individually be charged, so it looks like this. 1, 2, 3, charged. 1, 2, 3, strong charged. 2, 3, true charged. So that first swing that comes out on the true charge / does negligible damage. The one you really want to hit is when your hunter flips with that sword. So it'll be the second hit off of the true charge /. If you look around online, commonly the true charge / is called TCS. And for the sake of brevity, we're going to use that for the remainder of this video too. So you might notice if you walk around with the Greatsword out, you're pretty goddamn slow. And that's not good for anybody, especially when there's a giant monster trying to introduce you to its entrails. So get in the habit of either sheathing by hitting X, and for the sake of button presses here, I use the Xbox controller, just because I play on PC. I'll put a graphic up on screen shortly so you can see, like when I say X or Y or A or B, you can get an idea for which of the face buttons that corresponds to if you're on PlayStation. So, say you're running around, just did a combo, right? Instead of chasing after the thing, rolling, what you can do is just quickly put away your weapon and get back to running, which opens up sprints, and then you can pick it right back up. In terms of sheathing, you can come back and just try to sheath right after a hit, which takes quite some time. However, if you hit guard, which is right trigger, let's look at this. You can guard into a roll into a sheath, which is profoundly faster. Plus, you get the benefit of invulnerability frames while you're rolling. For anybody who's played Dark Souls or other action games that give you immunity while you're rolling, yes, they exist in Monster Hunter, but they are not particularly generous unless you build your decorations a specific way. That's beyond the scope of our conversation here. So if you really want to get in the habit of getting the most avoidance while sheathing, what you'll do is guard into a roll into a sheath, and away you go. If we were going to come into like general attacks here, sure, you could hang out and fully charge each, which would give us 137 into 150 into 206. And that's fine. However, what you can do is roll into pressing Y, which will give you a tackle, and let you skip that first level of charge. So that looks like this. Roll into tackle, into charge, and we start with the strong charge slash for 150, which leads us into the true charged, that then hits for 258, but that in this case is because we just popped the wound that we put on this cart. So that opens up the conversation about tackle. Anytime you're charging, you can press B to tackle. And what tackle does is give you a little bit of hyper armor. So think of it kind of as a counter. So actually, let's just go ahead and demonstrate this real quick. Where do we go? Smash mode. So the cart should now be, yes. Okay. So if we come here, let's see if I can get this first try. Yeah, you tackle through it, negating the damage you would have taken. Let me see if I can do it again real quick. Yep. So you might take a little bit of chip damage. However, you will retain the charge you're currently at, and at the cost of stamina, you'll take far less damage instead of getting flung across the zip code when the monster tries to hit you. So what you could do is say like, oh, I'm charging. Let's just throw out the charge slash. You're charging up your strong. Monster's trying to hit you. You tackle through it. You go back into the charge. Oh, look, you're doing the true charge now. This is a thing that you're going to be doing very frequently. So of note on the tackle, the animation does take a little bit of time to get started. So what you're going to want to do is hit the button slightly before you think you should. Now, considering it is doable only while you're charging, if you hit it too late, the attack will come out and you're going to get smacked in the face. That's not good for anybody. Two things that got introduced with Wilds is an actually functional guard on right trigger. So let's see if we can do this. You have the regular guard, which costs quite a bit of stamina and does give you some chip damage, but it's better than getting hit in the face by whatever absurdity the monster's throwing at you. Now, if we come in here and time it just at the right time, we get a perfect guard. So you might have heard the difference in those sounds. The perfect guard is a little bit more resonant. It's almost like someone's hitting an out-of-tune bell. Let's see if we can do it again. There we go. So if we look at the animation, perfect guard is pretty excellent in that it has guard frames immediately at the beginning of the animation. So what you can do if you're getting really in tune with the monster is just tap it right as the attack would be about to hit. The timings are a little bit more generous on this than you might think. So even if you guard a little bit early, you're likely to still get that perfect guard. The other new thing that's introduced in Wilds that admittedly I'm still having a bit of a time getting used to here is the offset slash. And for Greatsword, you do that by holding Y and B. For PlayStation, that's triangle and circle. So you can hit it once and it just comes out, right? That is also particularly useful for hitting flying enemies, or high points on a monster in front of you. You can also charge that, just like your true charge slash, to 3 areas, and that gives you a wider length of time, to be able to release the buttons and counter the attack that's coming in. So, let's see if we can do that again. Nope. And that's an example of the timing here. You need to have the attack going before the attack from the monster would hit you. So, let's do it again. There we go. And then you can follow that up with a press of Y or triangle for the follow-up cross slash. From there, the monster's usually going to be staggered, and you can charge that up and come in with a follow-up attack. And talking about the focus mode, which was introduced with Wilds, if we look at it, movement here, if I move the left stick, my character is going to move around, turning on place, right? If I turn on focus mode, now I'm going to be strafing left and right, moving forward and back, but always keeping my facing in the direction of the cursor. Let's come over here. So if I was going to beat on the cart for a second here. All right, we have a wound. So if we come up to the wound and tap right bumper or R1, we'll go into focus slash, which does a grip of damage, destroys the wound, and will let you come directly into the true charge slash. This lets you skip the first 2 stages of charge. So while you're progressing through the hunt, beating on the monster, if you get the opportunity to use your focus slash, that will allow you to skip those first 2 steps and just continue to pump out damage. So for the sake of illustrating all these concepts in real time here, let's go ahead and take a look at a hunt. We're wearing level 0 gear, so this is your standard noob setup. So let's go say hi to our favorite rock frog. Now, in general, you really want to focus on just reading the monster, responding, and almost thinking about it as a you go, I go kind of thing. So monster is going to engage in an action, you're going to respond to it, you're going to follow up with an action of your own. And this leads us into mounts. Generally, starting a hunt, I will like to try to get a mount off the top. Yes, you can do the dismount attack with Y and B. However, what I like to do is just hit A, or X in your case if you're on PlayStation, to run up behind the monster, jump off, charge with Y, land on it, call the Sacred back, come around, rinse and repeat, which is usually enough to get that first mount. Now from here, we will come in and poke it with our giant pocket knife to produce a couple wounds. Yes, if you're running out of stamina, you can do it with just 1, but having extra wounds is always nice. So from here, we'll hit right bumper to explode 1 wound, run up, roll into a tackle, into a charge, throw that out. Now we're in true charged, and we go for face. Perfect guard. Get hit in the face because I got greedy. So tackle, into charge, into true charge. So we have a wound. We're going to hit focus strike to pop that, do a grip of damage, and immediately go back into another true charged. And we pop that. So we roll, tackle, charge, and we go. So that was a regular guard, so we got a little bit of chip damage, but it's fine. Now illustrating the tackle if we can here. Or we could just break his foreleg and get another focus attack. Let's see. Perfect guard. Now, if you perfect guard often enough, you're filling an imaginary gauge that'll let you clash with the monster. Let's see if he'll do it for us. There's another. Oh, he missed. That's okay. You're the tutorial monster. You don't need to be really good at it. Hey, look at me. It's not bait. Come on. So depending on the monster you're fighting, this will take varying degrees of time to make it go. And you cannot guard in the middle of an attack, as we just demonstrated there. Here I am completely whiffing guard timings. Good job, Squid. Come on, Shadowcabra. You can do it. I believe in you. Dude, how many times do we have to parry you? There we go. So here's your clash. From here, you mash wire triangle, push it back, and you can lead it into a true charge slash right out of that. So you have lots of opportunities to really lead into instant true charge slashes, or pseudo-instant, as the case may be. So we're going to let him run away to hopefully illustrate one other thing that the Greatsword is particularly good at. So I don't think he's going to go to sleep out here, but if he was going to go to sleep, monsters who are sleeping take bonus damage from the first hit that hits them while they're asleep. So the way you would do this is you would come out, go into focus mode, and let's say this rock right here is the monster's weak spot, usually their face. What you do is look a little bit away, go into a charge, go into a strong charge, then you go into a true charge, miss with the first hit, and then hit with the second. And that will get you the most bonus damage possible for that first wake-up hit. Now, since the damage values for Greatsword have gotten normalized a little bit since World and Rise, this is less epic than it used to be. But if you're looking for each point you can get and making the monster dead while you're still not, it's still a useful tool. For extra credit, put a barrel bomb down in front of their face and hit both at the same time. So let's go ahead and finish this and see if I can't illustrate one of the offset attacks here. Come on, do your thing. No, you're just going to stand there and roar at me and run away again. Okay. Cool. Oh, is it nappy time now? Okay. Because this guy's pretty close to death, we're not gonna do the wake up or the sneak attack.
I'll gather up what you didn't use.
See if we can't get an offset, just to illustrate the concept. Come on now. There we go. So from here, you hit Y, and you get the follow-up, which leads you directly into the strong, and you know the rest. So, let's go ahead and finish this guy off, and I have a couple last-minute thoughts here for you. Why don't we take a look at the Smith? Yeah, off the hop, We
Anything catch your eye?
really didn't have any problem with Hope 1 and 2. From Hope 1 and 2, I went down to the Buster Sword 1, which is fine. However, I feel like you might get initial value out of going into the Kamatrisa Espada 1 and potentially 2, depending upon how much time you spend fighting each monster and what sort of drops you get, because RNG is RNG. Later on, we did experiment a bit with the Nursilla Greatsword, trying to capitalize on the wake-up damage that I was talking about. However, mentioning that normalization that we talked about earlier, there wasn't really a whole lot of value there. So, to get through the rest of low rank, we then came in and crafted the Paretic Blade 2, which is the Nursilla Greatsword. Just because it comes with extra paralysis, and anytime the monster is busy twitching, that's time the monster is not busy hitting you. And that's nice. In terms of overall options here, I say it's pretty hard to go wrong early game with any of, just the basic options. Later on, what we did wind up doing as soon as we unlocked the second rank of Deshagama, we swapped over to that, and that carried us pretty hard. Between this one, which comes with 2 levels of Punishing Draw, which is great, but does have the Deco slot and 20 defense bonus, all the way up until, where is it? Right here, right next to it. We picked this guy up, which comes with 2 ranks in Focus. So if we look at the skill info for Focus, this alone, just these 2 points on the weapon, moderately increases charge times by 10%. So that means it takes 10% less time to charge your big bonks. That doesn't sound like a lot, but given the timings you encounter with monsters later on, that matters. So, short version, Deshagama, Arkfeld, Nursilla, Bone, all of these are fine. I would prefer, personally, going from Expedition to Ore to Deshagama to Arkfeld, but you can't really go wrong also picking up a couple for the Paralysis Tree if that's what you want to do. Sleep was kind of mediocre. I can't recommend it in good faith, honestly. In Elemental, sounds fun, but in low rank, that's not really a thing you need to consider. So, let's talk about armor as you progress through low rank. And I figure by the time you're in high rank, you're probably pretty decent at the game and you can figure out what works for you. So, let's take a look here. So across the entirety of our gear, we have Punishing Draw, which, cool, it's an extra bonus, but not really something to pay attention to. This is just what you get off of that first attack from the Greatsword being on your back. Divine Blessing 3 from our Talisman, our gloves, and our pants. Yes, people will complain and say, oh, Divine Blessing's a crutch, blah, 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 blah. If you're new to the series, you need time to learn what you're doing wrong. And a flat chance to take half damage helps you do that. Free meal off of our helm and chest gives you a 25% chance for every time you chug a potion, because you're probably getting hit in the face a lot, to not expend that potion. It's nice. Evade Extender off of the Balahara Greaves to give us a slightly longer dodge roll, because until you get in the habit of sheathing your weapon, and this is still a thing I'm working on too, just because I generally hadn't played Greatsword before Wilds, gives you extra quality of life. And you may as well not hate yourself while you're doing something for fun, yeah? That leads us into Deshagama's Might, which gives us plus 10 to our attack stat after a successful power clash or offset attack that we demonstrated during the Chatacabra hunt. Not a lot. Looking over at the stats here, 180 plus 10, that's what, 6-7%, I think? Not much. but it matters and it adds up. After you've gotten to this point, let's
You know where to find me.
say you've already killed Arkfeld and the final boss. Let's go ahead and swap out to what I was using right when we swapped into high rank. Looking at our equipment here, we have the Arkfeld Greatsword, helm, mail, gloves, and boots. We do still have the level 2 Divine Blessing Charm, as well as the high rank Hope Coil. So this gives us 2 ranks in focus, just to keep that reduced charge time. 1 rank in offensive guard, which gives us plus 5% damage after a perfectly timed guard. That's that resonant guard I mentioned earlier. Yes, I'm going to be putting more points into this as we go, but again, this is for that transition into high rank from low rank. 1 point into guard, just because I like it. And it slightly reduces the amount that you get knocked back and lets you guard things that you wouldn't otherwise be able to if you miss that perfect guard. 3 points in Flair. I'm really liking Flair this go around, which is a new talent with Wilds. At level 3, it makes it easier to inflict wounds and deals moderately more additional non-elemental damage when you pop those wounds. So basically think of the Arkfeld set as you're popping up wounds on the monster, and then you're breaking those wounds, and you're getting ridiculous amounts of extra damage from doing that. And if we look at the Guardian Arkfeld's Vitality, we restore health when you destroy a wound on a large monster, which is drastically going to help your survivability moving into high rank. So every time you pop a wound, you get a pretty significant heal. Yeah, I think you can see where this is going. So the Hope Coil Waste along with the Divine Blessing Charm bring us back up to level 3. So chance to take half damage, always nice. Especially if you don't want to try hard. If you do feel like putting your try hard pants on, you can swap the Blessing Charm 2 out for, I think it's the Chainblade Charm, which will give you an additional 1, 2, or 3 points of, like 1 or 2 based on where you'll be in the game, of Flair, which would then take you to level 5, which then amps up the healing you get from popping wounds and make it easier to inflict and then get bonus damage off those wounds. Blight Resist level 2, which reduces the duration of all elemental blights by 75%. So if you get set on fire, you can stop, drop, and roll once instead of 4 times. It's nice. A little bit of resist here and there, a little bit of stun resist, but most of these come from the garbage decos I have in this set at the time. So here you go. Here's a pretty clear case, I think, for why Greatsword might be pretty ideal for new players, since the Greatsword now has a really effective guard, an offset hit, a simple to understand but pretty in-depth to execute moveset, forces the person to really understand the monsters and the mechanics of the game while still being really powerful enough to take on whatever the game throws at you. Again, Wilds is the first time I've mained a Greatsword. Usually I'm a Charge Blade guy, but this just works. And it's really nice. You know, pair that with some of the gear recommendations we made earlier, and I think you have a pretty clear highway to get through the story in low rank, move into high rank, and then be pretty successful in early high rank to start making your own decisions about your build and what works for you, and develop a collection of skills and gear pieces that addresses your own shortcomings while still making you stretch a bit more. Anyway, I've been Bald Squid. I'll see you next time.